So I'm able to look out and see Candymonium from my hotel room, and you know, just over the corner there's Sky Rush and Storm Runner. The only you can see as well. The camera, but I can see it very well. And I also can see a bit of Fahrenheit in distance as well. But yeah, last night I decided to wear my kilt to the park to see how, you know, for science and kind of Sarah's saying, you know, go that my first time to ride Candymonium, which I did, even though both Fahrenheit and Candymonium did break down before I got on, but I also needed Trailblazer and Wild Mouse and the Coco Cruiser and Sidewinder as well, but Coco's a kiddie coaster and Sidewinder's down for getting painted. So yeah, I made up for that by getting a ride on each side of Lightning Racer, because obviously that ride really has a weight and it's a high capacity ride. So I'm gonna try and think of a way to, you know, categorize my thoughts from last night, because what I did was very absurd. Okay, so I've come up with a very cheesy ranking system. You know, with the On I'm Tide, they thought up a LEAF, which stands for length, elements, airtime, and forces. Starting off with Trailblazer, finding the length is very short compared to Cedar Creek Mine, which has been used over the summer. It's very short. However, in her forces, it has some good laterals, especially in that helix. That's mainly part of it, because I did ride in the back middle. But yeah, has no airtime. Whether or not you rode in a kilt or not, that's a wild mess. I mean, that wait time is more comparable than the one at Dorney Park, and I thought it was a lot better, like actually quite forceful than the one at Dorney Park, although they are basically in terms of length, same. No special elements. I mean, I did get a little airtime on those drops, but yeah, I don't think it'll be much different in kill again, as I was saying, with the last one. But hey, I do prefer the one at Dorney. That, in like all aspects. Also, there's some, you know, bunks going on there, so it's a bit nicer aesthetically just because it's the Hollows Tide, but. Okay, so there's all this traffic for 1.4 miles to the Ren Fair. So let us continue discussing the LEAF system with Lightning Racer. So, Thunder Lightning, exact same length, exact same height, top speed, all that, but I think Lightning had the forces that night, especially since I rode that in the front row versus Thunder in the back. It had the forces, with a little more rough and tense, even though Thunder was actually like hauling a bit better. Like when I was on Thunder, we definitely had a good lead, but on Lightning, it was definitely a close call. So yeah, I really stand by Team Lightning Racer on this one, even though I've only ridden Wildcat once, and that was opening day 2017, so there is stuff. I'm definitely gonna try and get back next season, hopefully, sometime. From back, you know, probably July, August. So we finally reached the Turnpike toll booth, so I think it's time to, you know, follow up and continue this whole thing when we were at Fahrenheit. As I said earlier, it broke down while I was in line. Like, I was at the base of the steps, and by the time the breakdown was over, I snagged the front row before they closed the gate again, the station platform. But yeah, it actually reminded me of my first time on Raptor. All that was a daytime ride. It was a bit later than my one that I had a few weeks later, where I thought it was a lot more rough. But I felt like it was a good mix between smooth and rough. Especially felt like a lot of cylinders in their Cobra roll in terms of, you know, jankiness, but yeah. That the unique element of the vertical lift and drop, it's not so unique anymore, as there is one in China now. Didn't really make me think about my first time on in Bulls at Grenobles. I did share a row. That's the only time when I had shared my row with someone else that night. You know, I almost did on Candymonium, but I'll get back to that in a few minutes. So, Link is a pretty good compact. I think it has a unique inversion, or like one of the few only in US feature a Norwegian loop, I believe. That's a unique element. I think there is one good pile of airtime, but I would say I was more stable on Fahrenheit than I was on Candymonium. And I'll get to that why up next.
3 hours later.
So after a dreary festival day at the Renaissance Fair, which should be the previous video to this one, I'm going to do something for the road here at the 7-Eleven in the Fountains rest stop. And we're going to talk about Candymonium. That was, after all, big highlight of the night. Okay, so I rode Candymonium during the final hour, so it means it's all dark out there. Got the front row, but it broke down right before mine, but did seem the issue fixed itself when I started running trains again. So I originally put 2 girls on the side, and let me have my own, let's just get the front row to myself, so yeah. Yeah, the thing is that the restraint was sitting on the seatbelt. So I think that's why Fahrenheit felt more restrictive than Candymonium, but still wasn't getting like yeeted out of my seat. My favorite element on the ride is the turn underneath the lift hill where you head before you head over to the Gizzard Fountain. I haven't really got a chance to admire that last night, but yeah, that's not my favorite part of the ride. That's not something Nitro can counter, but my last rides on Nitro were during Hauling in the Park in 2019, and it was like, it's cold, but it was still, Nitro was still going as fast as possible. You know, they think they're kind of slow down with on the brake in the final brake run, but yeah, I still think Nitro has an edge over Candymonium. Then comparing my very first ride, which was a night ride and a Kilt in the front row, versus a ran probably closest back on Nitro during Hauling in the Park 2019. Not to say that the first drop, I mean, the first drop was probably good in row 7, maybe not as good as row 8 on Nitro, especially since Nitro's a bit taller. Yeah, I don't even really had, those two are probably close experiences. It's like a true like total darkness ride, since I haven't been to Kings Island or Kings Dominion yet. Yeah, I do think it might show more of like tended towards like ejector and finding a balance between smooth, rough for me. So I'm trying to figure out, definitely once I start, you know, riding more coasters, I'll figure that out, but yeah, I still think it had some pretty good flow, right? So I only felt, you know, I only felt something going